Okay. So I will talk, and Martin, please give me any questions if there are any. So today I would like to show you Charles and its functionality, how we can use it in terms of QAing and in general in terms of app development. I prepared a sample using the Western application, so I hope you will enjoy it. In general, Charles is an application used for proxying. So basically, you will see every single call coming from your computer and coming into your computer. The same about simulator and device. Whatever you see here on the simulator can be done exactly the same way using the real device. So as an example, let's start the application. And we already see multiple API calls to all the third-party frameworks we use, like Backfender, Localized, TestFairy. What we are interested in is actually what we send to our API. It's a little bit difficult, but in most cases, our API is either called Firebase.io or it's called appspot.com. Because this is under SSL, we cannot see any requests, or what we want to do is to include those two URLs in the SSL proxying settings. So whenever you do this, what I usually do is I do it this way. The port is always 443. Wait. So now whenever you start the application again, instead of saying something like this, you should see a direct let me clean it. Was it called? No. Sorry. Please ignore it for now. I was preparing the presentation. So now we can see entire request and entire response coming from the API. So here it's very easy to debug the issue, check if the app is showing what it should show. If you go deeper into the application, we should see more API calls like this. Sorry, like this. So everything that is displayed here is coming from this API call. What it also shows you is the summary. So it tells you how much time it takes to get the response, what is the size of the body. So it's also very helpful in terms of debugging what is the issue and how much internet is the application using. What I really like is breakpointing. So breakpointing means you can change the request or change the response transparently for the application. In order to do so, the easiest way is just to select the breakpoint, the URL, set up a breakpoint, and now whenever you do the request again, Charles will allow you to edit the request. Hopefully. Edit the request, or if you execute it, you will be able to edit the response. This is completely transparent for the application. So application right now is just waiting for the response. So let's say we want to change the layout that we display. So we see that the first item is called hero. So whenever we want to test it, how the application would look like in case of layout list, whenever we execute it, the layout is nicely changed. This is also very helpful in order if you want to check very long text or how the application behaves in terms when there is something unexpected. So let's say make it a very long text. Sorry. So as we can see, in terms of long text, it is also nicely displayed. We can check what happens if the API returns unsupported layout. Like something like this. So we see a nice fallback. We can also do a very nice feature called throttling. Throttling basically allows you to simulate very bad internet connection. This is done almost the same way as breakpointing, so you can enable throttling. I suggest always adding it for particular URL, because if you do not select a host, then basically your entire internet works very, very bad. The same way, HubSpot, you can pre-select some settings like 3G or very, very old, very bad internet connection, and then check how the app behaves in terms of very bad internet connection. Breakpointing is also very good if you want to simulate the timeouts or if you have multiple calls. Let's say your application makes 10 calls, 10 API calls at the same time, and you want to test what will happen if the third call will fail or the order will change. You can do that also using breakpoints. Then you just make breakpoints to every single API call, and then you decide which call is rejected or which call is done in which order. In terms of technical issues, if you run it on simulator and you want to install SSL certificate, what you have to do is you have to go to Help, SSL proxying, and install Charles root certificate in iOS simulator. You have to done it for every simulator you have. So if you run iPhone X, you have to install the certificate. Then if you switch to iPhone 8, you also have to install it there. To be honest, I have no idea what will happen if you have two simulators opened at the same time. I've never tried. I've always done it per single simulator. If you want to test it on the device, the flow is exactly the same. All you have to do is go to Wi-Fi settings and provide proxy URL. And the proxy URL is your IP address of your computer, which you can get from here, from Charles' local IP address. Just type it, and the port is always 8888. Do you have any questions about it? Martin?
No questions.
Okay. So to be honest, that would be all I have to show you. In terms of checking requests and responses, it's also very useful in terms of debugging tracking. But from my experience, debugging of the tracking is always difficult, especially in terms of Google Analytics, as Google Analytics changes the variable names. So even if you send, for example, is first app opened, Google Analytics changes it to, for example, variable called XYZ. Okay, so from my side, that would be all. If you have any questions how to install the certificate or you have any issues on iOS, please ping me. But if you have any issues on Android and you would like to install the certificate on the Android, please ask Maciej. He will be your help there.
Okay, thank you, Łukasz. I think we wait some minutes, some questions coming up, and otherwise we can stop this. So anyone, please ask the questions now, so Łukasz can answer. Okay, seems like nothing else is open. So thank you, Łukasz, very much for your input on this topic. And yeah, I'm glad to see the next masterclasses soon. Thank you, guys. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.